Castle Ridge, those southeast slopes. The winds loaded the snow, created wind slabs. These crowns are deep. These were large destructive avalanches. That crown, the crown of an avalanche is the top portion where it broke off and failed. So you can see that wall of snow right in there is 6 to 10 feet deep. So a really large avalanche. And then here is a picture of the aftermath of the largest avalanche we had of the season. This again was on Castle Ridge. You can see the crown in the upper left side of the picture there below the rocks. Does anyone not see that? You guys get what I mean when I'm saying crown? Up on the left there. So it failed as a wind slab. The crown, the top of the avalanche was about 1,500 feet wide. The avalanche ran for over 2,000 vertical feet. It washed all through Avalanche Gulch. It washed over Helen Lake, which is the common place to camp for climbers. It actually put 20 to 30 feet of debris on the lake. So the snow's going to be there for a long time, but it's also, a big wake-up call for people that, hey, this is avalanche terrain. This happens. It doesn't seem like it's reckless to go climbing in the summertime and camp up there in the appropriate conditions, but understand that these things happen. And, if someone were to have been camped up there this December, it would have been a really bad outcome. This same day that this avalanche occurred, 2 skiers triggered an avalanche in an adjacent slope and were both caught and carried and washed for about 800 feet. Luckily, both of them were fine. It was a miracle that they were fine. It was a really lucky event. So avalanches happen up there. So here are some things to think about with assessing avalanche hazard. The 5 red flags of avalanche danger. These apply to any mountain range, any snow climate in the world. So they work on Mount Shasta. These are the things to think about. There's no better indication of unstable snow and that avalanches could occur either naturally or that you could trigger them than seeing recent current avalanche activity. If you see an avalanche occur, you want to note, okay, where did that happen in the terrain with respect to elevation and aspect? Did it happen on a southeast aspect, a north aspect? Just define it. Get your compass out, figure out where it occurred, and then think roughly elevation bands, below tree line, near tree line, alpine, above tree line. And then think about, okay, where do I want to go now? Do I want to go throughout that same elevation band on that same aspect? If you're seeing avalanches on southeast aspects on those steep slopes, you probably don't want to go traipsing on another southeast aspect because you're likely to maybe trigger an avalanche. So thinking about recent current avalanche activity, there's nothing better that indicates there could be future avalanches than recent past avalanches. Whooping sounds or shooting cracks. So shooting cracks and whoops are indicative of unstable slab avalanche concerns. So if you're traveling through the snow, on skis or on foot, and you see shooting cracks in the snow initiating out from your feet, it's telling you that the snow is not bonding well to itself and to the older layers beneath. And that if you get onto steeper slopes, generally something that's 30 degrees or steeper, you might be able to trigger an avalanche. Whooping sounds like a weird word, but it's really a good description of what it feels like. A whoop is a collapse of a weak layer. So in order to have a slab avalanche, you need to have a slab, a cohesive mass of snow, a layer of snow sitting on some type of weak layer. And so with a whoop, that weak layer fails and it'll collapse, and you'll feel like a settling, a drop, and you'll often hear this muffled thundering sound. It's really hard to ignore. It's really scary. It'll make the hair on the back of your neck stick up. So if you see shooting cracks or whoops, it's time to say, okay, let's get to lower angle terrain. Let's get out of avalanche terrain. And these are typically whooping, shooting cracks. Those are associated with usually dry snow, avalanche concerns, and mostly when you're dealing with winter conditions. You're not generally going to see that with wet avalanches or loose avalanches. You're not going to see that just flat avalanches. Then recent current heavy snowfall, we talked about that one. Avalanches happen most frequently 24 to 48 hours during a storm, during or immediately following a storm. And then strong winds. The saying, the old adage is winds are the architect of avalanches. They definitely drive the most number of avalanches that we have up on the mountain in the winter and the spring. So if you've got strong winds, you want to think, okay, do I have snow available for transport? Is there dry snow on the surface that the wind can move around? Am I seeing the wind picking up snow and blowing it off ridge lines and loading slopes in a uniform way? So So really watching the wind transporting snow. And then finally, rapid warming or rain